In a land full of royalty, flowers, and peace, there lived a girl called Esmeralda, Jane Fairy. The Queen of Farrington wanted to name her after the jewel emerald, while her father, the King Jacob Fairy, wanted to name her Samantha after his mother, Samantha, Fairy the Fifth. Jacob loved his wife so much that he chose to combine the names, giving Esmeralda her unique name. The day Esmeralda was born, her eyes were brighter than the stars. Her cheeks were as red as a red rose and as big as a plum, and her crying sounded like a lullaby. As for the weather, it was like hot chocolate on a winter day. Her parents were more than happy. They were full of joy and hope, although Esmeralda's mother was in pain. Esmeralda was like the cure to her worry. Esmeralda grew up as very talented. At the age of 1, she started talking and crawling. Age 2, she learned to say her ABCs and all numbers from 1 to 100. Age 3, she learned how to spell almost every word that has 4 letters. Age 4, she started to read books. Age 5, she learned how to play the piano, and at the age of 15, she pretty much knew how to do everything, even baking. Now that I have told you about Esmeralda, let's get into the story. Esmeralda's life was perfect until the day everything changed. Her birthday, it was the day that she would turn 22. On this day, Esmeralda woke up to singing birds and sunlight creeping through her bedroom windows. When Esmeralda got up, she was ecstatic and filled with joy. She got up, took a shower, got dressed, got her hair combed, and skipped happily down the castle halls. When she got to the dining table, her sister and parents were already waiting for her. When she saw them, she greeted them and took a seat. Her family gave her a nice greeting. And then, after greeting her mother winked at the guard, signaling something, and at that moment, the guard opened the door. And to Esmeralda's surprise, there was a choir singing her a happy birthday, and the cooks with a giant cake in their hands. Esmeralda was so happy when the choir was done, and the cooks placed the cake on the table and left. Esmeralda's mother told her that since she is now 22, it is time that she starts to look for a prince to marry, or they will have to arrange a marriage for her. When Esmeralda heard this, she jumped up from her chair, then started arguing, "No, Mama, please no." She then turned to her father and looked at him for a minute, then said, "Papa, please. I am begging you. Please don't let me marry at only 22, although her father wanted to make her happy. He didn't have a choice but to agree with her mother. He said, "Sweetie, I'm so sorry that you will have to marry at 22, but you will have to listen to your mother." Hearing that from her father, Esmeralda ran out of the dining room with tears streaming down her face. With nowhere else to go, she went to her safe space that no one knew about, the forest. When she got there, she was surprised to see someone else there. She then shouted it out, "Who are you? May I ask, what are you doing here?" He then looked up and said, "I'm Derek, and I am just passing through on my way to the village, but I think I'm lost. Do you mind directing me to the village?" Esmeralda then said, "Oh, hi, I'm Esmeralda, and lucky for you, I know where the village is." As Esmeralda took a step forward to direct Derek to the village, she tripped over a tree stump, and before she could even fall, Derek caught her in his arms, then said, "You must be careful. You could have fallen in the mud or even worse, sprained your ankle." Esmeralda's heart skipped a beat as she looked into Derek's eyes. She thanked him and then pointed the direction of the village and said, "I really hope you don't get lost." In a funny tone, Derek jokingly said, "That depends on if you're pointing me in the right direction." Derek then got up on his horse, thanked Esmeralda, and waved her goodbye. Esmeralda waved back and then got to her little hideout. Her hideout was like a forest fairy dream come true. When she got in, Esmeralda couldn't help but smile. This interaction made Esmeralda forget all about what her parents told her. After a few hours in her hideout, she got out, then went back to the castle. Once back, her parents apologized but told her they were doing it for her own good. Esmeralda didn't believe them, but she did not overreact, just let them be. Once they were finished with their apology, they told Esmeralda that there will be a ball the following night, and that she would have to look gorgeous, because there would be possible suitors at the ball. Esmeralda was angry, but she did not tell her parents, nothing, just agreed. It was the day of the ball, and when Esmeralda got ready, she and her family went to the ball. At the ball, all Esmeralda did was dance. She was so sad until she recognized a familiar face. It was Derek. She went over to him and said hi. When Derek saw her, he was surprised to see her, as she was surprised to see him. Esmeralda said, "I didn't know you were a prince." Derek replied and said, "Oh, yes, I am. And I didn't know you were a princess." Esmeralda chuckled and asked, "Where are you from?" Derek replied, "I am from Naperville." Esmeralda said, "Oh, that's very far away. No wonder you got lost," and then chuckled. The whole entire night they talked, and Esmeralda found herself falling for Derek's charming smile and kind eyes. Then he asked her if she was going to marry anyone. She said, "Where my parents wish for me to marry since I'm 22. But I don't want to, so it's either I find somebody who I like or have an arranged marriage." In a casual tone, Derek said, "Why don't you marry me? My parents also made that deal with me, but a little bit different. I need to find somebody in a month. So you would have a chance of being free, and I would have a chance of being free also. So what do you think?" Hearing that, Esmeralda asked, "Would you really do that for me?" He replied, "Yes." Esmeralda, with surprise, accepted, "Yes, I'll marry you." She said, "Anything to get my parents thinking that I am married?" "What about you come to meet them right now?" Derek nodded and went with Esmeralda to meet her parents. They greeted Esmeralda's parents and then told them that he wanted their blessings to marry Esmeralda. When Esmeralda's parents heard this news, they quickly agreed. Her father said, "You can, but you will have to treat her good." Derek replied and said, Of course. I will, of course, I will." When Esmeralda and her family got back to their castle, her parents discussed this with her. Esmeralda acted as she did not know this news and was so surprised. Then said, "Are you serious?" "Of course, I'll do anything to make you guys happy. By next week." Esmeralda's mother said. Esmeralda then replied, "Whatever is fine with you will be fine with me." Esmeralda then went to bed and fell asleep. When Esmeralda woke up, her mother was there with the dressmaker. The dressmaker explained that they had a dress as beautiful as any dress that she has had for her, but they all have to get the waist size and measure Esmeralda. Esmeralda then got up, got ready, and went to the dressmaker and waited, and stood still to take her measurements. And she was taking her measurements. Her mother then said, "Esmeralda, are you sure this is what you want?" Esmeralda replied, "Yes, mother, and of course anything for you guys." Once they were finished taking measurements, Esmeralda then went to fill out the reception to take care of other stuff that she had to get done for the wedding. The week before Esmeralda's wedding was full of a very busy week. Esmeralda had to go to catering, roses, cake tasting, dessert, and much more. She barely had any sleep for that entire week, but still helped out. It was then the day of Esmeralda's wedding. She looked beautiful as any jewel on the land, a true Wonderland bride. It was then time for Esmeralda to walk down the aisle in hands with her father. As she walked, the music played, and the guests whispered in awe, "She's a vision." Her father smiled, tears in his eyes, and handed her over to Derek, who looked dashing in his suit. The ceremony was a blur, but Esmeralda remembered the vows they exchanged, the ring on her finger, and the kiss that sealed their deal. The crowd cheered, and the newlyweds made their way to the reception. The night was filled with laughter, music, and dancing. Esmeralda and Derek couldn't take their eyes off each other. As they danced to their first song, Derek whispered, "I'm so glad I got lost that day." Esmeralda smiled, her heart full of joy. "Me too." They shared a kiss, and the stars twinkled above. And so they lived happily ever after in a land of love, peace, and happiness.